こせこの拳放て熱きこの想いをなくしたものをもう一度抱きしめたいから僕らはずっと走ってきたんだ約束のこの場所に流した涙と心の傷は生きてる証なのさ自分を信じて進むんだ Don't look back 明日に向かおう今奇跡を起こせこの拳放て熱きこの想いが夢に届くまで砕け散ったプライド取り戻してあの日の誓い握りしめろ Burning Heart
Hey, what's up everybody? Justin here to review you my first PSP game, Hajime no Ippo Portable Victorious Spirits. So, a little while back, I reviewed one of the PS2 installments of Hajime no Ippo, which would be Hajime no Ippo 2 Victorious Road, and figured I'd give this opportunity to its other installments outside of that console. And as a fan of Hajime no Ippo since 2001, I figured I had to have it, and the games are an integral reason as to why I became a fan. So please enjoy my review. The game has the following playable modes: Story, Exhibition, and Practice. The Story mode largely uses a huge selection of critical fights from the manga. In Ippo's case, you're practically fighting throughout his entire career up to Malcolm Ghetto, which was where the manga was upon the release of this game. With Miyata, you're fighting Jimmy Sisfa and Arnie Gregory. For Takamura, you're getting the Hawk fight. As Aoki and Kimura, you're fighting Mashiba, Imai, Eleki Battery, and Papiya Dachiyu. As Itagaki, you fight Imai and Hoshi. And you have the ability to select your difficulty between easy, normal, and hard. The Exhibition mode allows you a huge selection of the cast. Hell, even the bear Takamura fought is once again a selectable character. And if you have a dream match such as, let's say, Miyata vs. Vorg, Martinez vs. the Bear, Ippo vs. Randy Boy Jr., or Eagle vs. Hawk, then the Exhibition mode allows you to play out those particular dream matches. Every selectable character has their style from the manga excellently represented once again. Ippo will have his peekaboo stance, Mashiba will have his flicker jab from his hitman stance, Miyata will have effective footwork and a good jab to go with it, and so on. The characters will also have their special moves from the manga. For example, Itagaki in his fight against Hoshi can activate his slow battle and run circles around him and some punches and bunches. But if Hoshi catches you with his karate punch, then it's lights out for him. Despite the gimmicky nature of some of these special moves, it plays very technically when you allow it to. You can use the ring, use the character's footwork to stick and move, or figure out a way to pin that opponent against the corner of ropes, or maybe rope-a-dope to your advantage. Virtually every strategy, depending on your boxer, is available. You can box, brawl, counter, or mix it up when appropriate. If you play the PS2 games, Portable plays no differently than them, though it can be looser and tighter here and there. Doing the specials are slightly modified, so for example, you can push, let's say, triangle and circle to do one special, but if you hold down the right trigger button while doing the same corresponding buttons, it'll do a different special. In Ippo's case, just holding down triangle and circle, he'll do his uppercut, which he first learned from Kamogawa. But hold down the right trigger button, he'll do his Dempsey roll. For other characters such as Jimmy and Scratch Day, he will have his Tornado Jolt, which I would like to call the boxing version of Terry Bogart's Burn Knuckle. Sawamura will have his Bullet, and Aoki will have his unique tricks such as Look Away, which can only be used once per match. The game is very true to boxing and the manga in many senses. If in the instance a knockdown occurs, a mandatory standing 8 count will be in effect, and the fighter who is still standing will automatically walk to a neutral corner, showing how the sport actually works. The rounds aren't literally 3 minutes, but more like a minute and a half, but the pacing will feel like an actual round. Through the story mode, as Ippo progresses, he will start as a 4-round boxer, where a 2 knockdown rule will be in effect, but later on he'll progress to 6-round, 8-round, and 10-round matches, where the 3 knockdown rule will be applied. But in the case of some world title matches, they will be 12 rounds. For WBC title fights, most notably between Brian Hawk and Takamura, there will be no 3 knockdown rule, but it will be applied in, let's say, the title fight between Date and Martinez. I'll get into my criticisms a little later, but back to the story mode. The game will have cutscenes between fights that will use images from the manga to retell that story, which I find to be pretty neat. The practice mode is pretty much you hit the bag and it measures the solid and deep impacts of your punches. By no means does it level you up, but it's a good way to familiarize yourself with the controls regardless of your prior familiarity with the other games. The graphics are a half step lower than the third installment of the PS2 release, but I would say it's a half step above the first. For 3D, the characters look good and are all recognizable. Taken from its cousin, Boxer's Road 2, is the inclusion of blood, which wasn't in any of the previous PS2 games. At the right impact, you can make your boxer gash out blood, but in the game, cuts above the eyes by no means do they affect the performance or outcome of the fight like how they would in real combat sports. What I also love are the impact visual effects when landing punches. This is also carried over from Boxer's Road 2. The harder the punch, the bigger the effect will be, which gives you an indication of how your boxer is performing as he's landing his punches. In some instances, when a fighter is knocked down, the angle will temporarily change for dramatic effect. This is also carried over from Boxer's Road 2, which was also implemented in the international release of Hajime no Ippo All-Stars, which was called Victorious Boxer's Fighting Spirit. At times, as the fight goes on, bruising will also show on the boxer's face. The music is very intense and dramatic, but this time, when you're close to a knockout, the music will change to indicate the possible end is near. The sound effects have an appropriate pop to them, and it's easy to follow to know what you're doing. One criticism I have, which tends to be an issue with the other games, is the scoring system if you go the distance. No matter what, I can never get a 10-9 round, and unless there's a knockdown, it's always 10-10. So the scoring needs to be more accurately improved. Also, fans have always been critical of the balance. For example, you play as Martinez, you can pretty much beat everyone, even with just his jab. Granted, he is OP in the manga, but in the game, especially like a Dragon Ball Z one, you can still get Krillin to be, let's say, Brawly. But, you can't, let's say, get, Fujiwara to beat Martinez. But other than that, this is a must-have for any Hajime no Ippo fans.